Hello, and welcome back to Making It with O'Malley. If you're new here, I'm Brandon, and this podcast is all about real talk with entrepreneurs, business leaders, and creative minds about how they got to where they are now. They'll also share, as always, 2 business tools they can't live without, so stick around till the end. Today, we've got Scott Yesner, owner and operator of Bespoke Stay, a premier vacation rental management company based in Philadelphia with operation hubs located in Philly, Pittsburgh, the Poconos, and the Jersey Shore. Scott's going to tell us about his story, about how he went from an attorney to a full-time vacation rental operator, and it has something to do with the Pope's visit to Philly. So I hope you enjoy this conversation between me and my friend Scott Yesner. We have a very special guest here on the show, also somebody that actually helped create the name Making It with O'Malley. So I appreciate that very much. Scott's a great friend of mine, known for a long time, and he has a really, really interesting story about how he got to where he is today. And it's entertaining, and I wanted to have him on to talk about it. So Scott, thanks for joining us. And where are you dialing in from today?
Yeah, surprisingly, Boston. It's not nowhere too crazy, nowhere too exotic, but yep, Boston is where I live with my wife and my 2 dogs, Luna and Zola. So we've been here for the past 2 years or so. Before that, we were actually in Malaysia for a year, and before that, we were in Philadelphia. So yeah, it's we're turning a corner here from the Boston winter, so things are getting a little warmer. So it's been nice, but nowhere close to where you and I have spent some time together, for sure.
We've spent some good times together here in Costa Rica.
Mexico.
And Mexico City was very, very fun. And but Boston, there's a lot of history in Boston. And
Totally.
so I'm sure that's a cool place to be.
Lobster rolls.
Great lobster rolls. Yeah, definitely. I have had some Maine lobster rolls. I don't think I've ever had I might have had a lobster roll in Boston, but I've definitely.
They're just as good.
Yeah, definitely. So Scott, Making It with O'Malley is all about telling your story. Like, well, how did you get where you are today? Where do you sit now, I guess, with Bespoke Stay as a business? And then if you could take us back to your professional journey, which is super interesting. Like I said, the story of how you got to where you are in relation to, I don't know if you could hit on like when the Pope came to Philly. I remember that story that you once told me, and Scott's a former attorney, but I'll let you take it over.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy to share that journey. And I think like a lot of entrepreneurs who are owner operators, you kind of fall into it sometimes and you don't really realize what you have until a few months or even a few years down the road. And that's certainly what happened with my story. Well, like you said, I was a practicing attorney. I was doing litigation. So I was in the courtroom a lot, doing trials, doing depositions, things like that. And on the side, I had purchased a couple real estate properties for myself. And typically what I would do is I would live in one for a year, have my friends rent it from me. They would also stay there. And then after that year, I would move out, buy another one, and then just get regular renters, in that previous property. So in 2015, the Pope came to Philadelphia and all the hotels were booked. Everything was booked out like a year in advance. So this is really where Airbnb came in the scene on Philadelphia. And I started hearing about people who were putting their house up for rent when the Pope was going to be here because the city needed additional accommodation. So I said, okay, property I'm living in, maybe I'll just put that one up for rent. And, I'm not just going to put it up for when the Pope is here. I'm going to put it up all year round. And I'm just going to set the price really high. If someone wants to stay there for that amount, great. I'll let them do it. And I'll go like sleep on a friend's couch, go to my parent, like who knows where. I'll figure something out. So I listed it on Airbnb. And then all of a sudden I started getting bookings left and right. So like every weekend I was booked, and one weekend was essentially paying the mortgage on the property.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa, like there is something here. And it got a little tiresome after a while because myself and my roommates at the time were constantly leaving the home every week. So, we'd work Monday through Friday, and then Friday we'd have to rush home to clean the place, get it ready for the guests, and then we're out for the weekend. That became too burdensome for all of us. So I said, okay, I got to find a place that's like just for Airbnb, that's only being used for Airbnb. And I ended up renting a similar home in the same neighborhood, and told the landlord what I was going to do. He was totally cool with it, and that was really the start of like just letting it rip with Airbnb and the short-term rentals. So I was rocking with that unit. I was still doing my attorney thing, and a lot of the times I would be in court for a trial, and my cleaner for the Airbnb property would like call out sick or something, or like was delayed or something. And I would have to rush over in my suit and tie and clean the property before the guests got there. And like just that first year of doing it, I have so many stories of like things that went awry and things that did not go as planned. And it's like, you can just never, in this industry, you can never say, I saw it all. I've seen it all. Because once you say that, something happens completely out of left field. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, I haven't seen it all, I guess. So that was kind of like my first experience with Airbnb. And from there I said, there's more demand for this than what I'm doing, but like I don't want to keep renting properties. It's annoying setting up the utilities and like getting it furnished, all this other stuff. So that's when I turned to Craigslist actually, and their rental section, because at that time, I'm dating myself now.
Yeah,
It's
Craigslist.
kind of weird to say I'm dating myself. That makes me feel old, even though in and of itself. But this was almost exactly 10 years ago at this point. And that at that time, you went to Craigslist to find real estate listings, like properties for rent. Now you go there to get killed or murdered.
Yeah, I
But
think
like
that there's a lot of weird things people go onto
yes,
Craigslist for
yes,
back then,
totally.
and now it's probably even weirder.
Who knows who's on there now? I wonder if they still have that missed connections section. I
I
sometimes would
bet.
like wander over there, and like some of the things you would see there are pretty incredible.
We'll check it out after the call here.
So I would go on Craigslist and I'd look for rental listings that had been up more than 30 days. And I said, okay, this guy is having trouble renting this place. And I would just contact them and say, hey, if you get this furnished, I can start making money on it for you tomorrow. And that piqued a lot of people's interest. And that's really where the management side of the business was born. From there, I had friends and family starting to hear what I was doing. They wanted help with their properties. Some brokers started getting connected to me, and they realized, hey, this guy can make more money properties. He can help sell my clients more deals, more properties. So I got a lot of engagement from there. And I think once I got to about 20 or 25 units, it was enough where I could step away from the attorney gig full time and focus on this. So looking back, may have been a little naive, but I was ready to take the plunge. And this was a new industry that really no one had done before. Short-term Airbnb management. Airbnb itself was new. This was before they IPO'd. So it was just like a kind of like the Wild West. And it was a lot of fun to be involved with that. A lot of learning along the way, a lot of mistakes along the way, but I'm the type of person where like I have to make a mistake. Like I'm not scared to make that mistake. And I think it's important to grow from those mistakes, but very different from my wife. Like my wife will plan out everything so that it's perfect the first time. And like she'll take that time, she'll spend 4 hours on something, making sure that it's 100% perfect, that every conceivable thing that could happen is accounted for. Me, I'm just like, oh, let's go. Let's just dive in, see what happens. Let's hope it's not shallow. Let's hope it's at least 8 feet of water, and like let's see what happens. So that was really like the first 2 to 3 years of the business. It was like going from 15 units to 25 units to 50 units, and like every time you do that shift, you have to change things up operationally. So like you always had to be comfortable with like not being tied down to like a specific operation or an SOP or a software that you're using, because it's only a matter of time before it becomes obsolete for you, or when something else comes up that just fits what you're doing at that point much better.
I think one of the reasons we get along so much is because I'm the same way of making mistakes and not needing perfection. And this podcast is an example of that. I didn't really prepare much, and just thought, this will be easy. We just have a phone call with a friend and we'll be good to go. And so far it is. So
Another conversation another time would be, how do you manage the two personalities of your wife, who is the perfectionist, and you, who is the just kind of go forward with it and see what happens. We could talk about that another time.
Yeah.
So you're saying operations, like you need to be constantly open to change, because things are changing so fast. You can't stick to one SOP or one operational process. It needs to continue to change as you grow. And you're one of the trailblazers in this industry, because now, as far as I know, like there are a lot of Airbnb managers out there, because the barrier to entry into this type of industry is kind of not that large. It's not, there's not a lot of startup capital needed. But at the time, very few people were actually doing what you were doing, and paving the way for people to realize, oh wow, I can make a business out of this thing. So yeah, going back to needing to constantly change, and maybe segue into like, well, where are you now? Like, what does the operation look like now, from renting out a place, looking on Craigslist, having a couple of units, to like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's wild to look back and think about how I was running things then versus how I was running things now. I mean, back then it was not done in a professional way at all. You're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And, I think I was wearing every single hat that needed to be worn in the company. So like I said, I was even cleaning properties from time to time. And that's just like, that it's just not sustainable, and you're not going to grow that way. So, I started bringing some people into the business. So right now we're managing a little bit over 100 properties. We started only being on Airbnb, but now we list on VRBO. We have a partnership with Marriott, so people can book our properties with their Marriott loyalty points, which I'm really proud of. And that was like a great accomplishment for us to get to that point where we're partners with them. We have a whole team of people that's working pretty much around the clock to make the business work. We have 2 area managers, one in Philadelphia, one in Pittsburgh. We have a bunch of offshore support. So we have people working with us in the Philippines, in Taiwan, in Colombia, in Peru, in Pakistan, in Dominica, so in South Africa. So like, we're just all over the place, and it's really cool to see all those different people and all those different cultures coming together, one goal, and really buying into it. And it's also been a lesson for me to be like, hey, how do you deal with all these different cultures in one place? Like, truly a melting pot of different people, not just personalities, but like just ways that they were brought up and ways that they interact with people. So it's been really challenging, but rewarding to see that evolve over time. And yeah, so right now we're in 4 key markets, which is Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, the Poconos, and the New Jersey Shore. And we have some outlier markets as well, but those are the 4 markets that we're really focused on and really hoping to grow over the next couple of years.
Super cool. Super cool. I am curious, when the last time you had to roll up the sleeves and clean some toilets.
Well, actually, the last time I had to do something like on-site manual was we recently opened a boutique hotel in Philadelphia called the Gaslamp Hotel. And we had a photo shoot, like a lifestyle photo shoot that we had scheduled that we would use for marketing, for social media, for our website. And the contractor was supposed to have installed the air conditioning units, a week or 2 weeks before, and he was delayed. And we're like, okay, should we? And I think this was in like July, actually, I think. So it was hot in Philadelphia. And I was talking to our brand rep, and I was just like, I think we should just cancel this. Like, we can't have 15 models in here and there's no AC. And like, that was one of the few times that I was like not in a solution mindset. I was just in the like, let's just like redo this, because I knew that a lot of it was going to fall on me. But anyway, the contractor he didn't get the AC installed in time. We went forward with the shoot, and we had one portable AC unit with us for the day that I rented. And so I had to move that AC unit from room to room for each photo shoot. And the thing's like dusty and nasty, and it like leaks water all over you. And yeah, that was a rough day, but we got it done, and we got the pictures, and they looked awesome, and nobody complained too much. So, it was good. I just ordered a bunch of Welch's fruit snacks for people, and like everyone loved those, and I think that like helped take the edge off a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a pointer for you in the future. If anyone's upset, just give them Welch's grapefruit snacks, and you're good.
Just give them some sugar. Give some refined sugar. I do have a question for you. Like, what do you have a favorite unit that you manage? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I have a couple. I do have a couple. So
you can name a couple.
Yeah, my favorite one we have is in the Society Hill neighborhood of Philadelphia. It's a five bedroom, 4.5 bathroom townhome. It has garage parking. It has a private elevator. Goes up to the roof deck, expansive views from the roof deck. Like if it's 4th of July or New Year's, you can see fireworks from every single direction. And the coolest part about it is it has an indoor pool.
Whoa.
I think it might be one of 3 homes in Philadelphia that has an indoor pool. So it's really something else, and everyone who stays there absolutely loves it.
Sounds amazing. I might have to get a group together and check that place out one night.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Sounds like an awesome place to share with like family or friends for a weekend.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Amazing. Cool. Well, so I appreciate again you sharing your story about, from attorney to, renting your own place with your roommates and having to clean apartments and Craigslist and growing. And it's, I've seen a lot of that growth because I've been friends with you over the past 5-6 years. You started a little bit before we met, actually probably over 5 years ago. And the reason we met was actually because I was considering putting my house on Airbnb, and I reached out to a realtor friend who said, "Hey, I know this guy who does Airbnb management," and you came over and we talked, and that's how we met, which is really cool. And
totally. I'm still not convinced that it wasn't you just catfishing me into becoming a friend, because you never signed up on Airbnb.
I know. I never signed up. I just, it's like, oh yeah, this guy sounds cool. I want to meet him and bring him into my house. Yeah. I'm a creep.
We're in Costa Rica together.
Riding quads. And sharing meals. Yeah, good times. So something that we're going to do here on Making It with O'Malley is share value with people that come and watch the show, and also like highlight some things in social media. And one of those things are what are the 2 tools that you can't live without in your business, and why? So I know that that's something I asked you to prepare, and you have your answers, and I am now curious to know what these tools are and why they're so important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my first choice would be Airtable, which is essentially Excel on steroids. And it's a data warehouse, but you can manipulate the data any way you want. You can write scripts to get, PDFs formed and things like that. What you can use Airtable for is pretty much limitless. So, if you have a little bit of creativity, you can really push Airtable into like any part of your business and really help get it organized. So like one of the issues we were having was that in our property management software, if we deleted a listing, like we weren't managing it anymore, or the owner sold it, that data for that property is still important to us to make decisions for the future. But if we delete it from that property management software, it deletes all the data as well. And if we want to keep it, we have to pay a subscription fee for it, which just doesn't make any sense. So we created just a little webhook between our property management software and Airtable. So every time a reservation comes in, it automatically gets put in Airtable. So now we have that data warehouse in Airtable for every reservation that we've ever had.
Wow.
So that's really, really helpful for us in terms of, thinking about the future and making informed decisions about what to do for the company. There's also cool features, like they have forums, so we use their forums a lot. This is for like our end of shift summaries for our team. How many maintenance issues came in, how many calls came in, how many reservations, things like that. And all that becomes data. So we can see, okay, we're getting the highest number of reservations during this time or during that time, or the team's experiencing the most maintenance issues, at this time frame. And like there's a ton of other forum sites that someone could use, but having that inside of Airtable with everything else that Airtable does is really nice. And you can get a little bit more complicated in there as well, where you can actually write scripts to manipulate the data and compartmentalize it in the way that you want. So every month we have to prepare owner statements for our clients to show, hey, here's your property, here's all the reservations, here's the expenses, here's our fee, here's tax, and then here's what's going to you. And at the end of the month, I just have to click one button and it automatically creates that PDF for every single client we have. So I just click that button, I let my computer hum for 15 minutes, and I come back and it's done. And
Wow.
I just send it out. So Airtable, and like doing that manually or in Excel would probably be like an entire day worth of work.
Well, I mean, I know a little bit about your business, but you were doing a lot of those things like manually and with different systems. And so now it's cool. Like you're all in Airtable and it sounds like it's just doing everything for you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So this is kind of a side point, I think, but an important one is that I went through a lot of fractional in my business and like bookkeeping firms who were like, oh yeah, this should not be a problem, easy peasy, like we can handle your business. And they just didn't understand the business. Like it was something they had never seen before. They had no idea how complicated it was. And I had to learn this lesson, again, making mistakes. This was when I had to learn a couple times that like, okay, no one really understands the business as well as I do. And Airtable enabled me to create this financial management system the way I knew it needed to be made without having to know any code or anything like that. So, that was awesome. And, it saved me thousands of dollars per month that I would have been paying to a fractional CFO who was losing me money because they didn't know how the business actually worked. Yeah, I think when you're in a niche business, you really have to be careful about who's handling the money and that they really understand the business well.
Very interesting. Good, definitely good tips. And I know about Airtable, but it sounds to me like I have some data management of our own, and it's a constant challenge to store lots of data. So I'm going to check out Airtable this week because, and I know about it and I've checked it out, but you've just lit a new little fire under me here.
Yeah, awesome. Glad to hear. My current project in Airtable is actually creating an onboarding dashboard for us to onboard new properties. So we have like a 100 point checklist that has to happen for each property. And I was, and we were using just an Excel sheet, but it's getting a little messy and it's hard for the team to follow up on things. So we created basically just like an onboarding portal that has its base in Airtable. So it sends out, automated emails for people, like when a new property comes on board. If there's a task that's late, it sends reminders. So it's really cool. And ChatGPT helped me a lot in figuring out exactly how to build it. But yeah, it's cool to see that in action. And again, that now saves you some money from like, buying a onboarding software or a subscription or something like that. So
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, I'm curious, like, well, you probably have to pay by certain actions, I guess, that are being taken. And I'm sure there's different levels of subscription. How many, like, do you know how many actions your business is performing in a month?
yeah, it's a good amount. They have their billing set up by how much data you have. How many rows of data are
Okay.
our 2003 data, we're going to archive that now. So that's not going to change. So we're just going to download all that data, put it in a folder, and delete everything from Airtable. So that's how we
Got it.
kind of maintain our cost. So like, it's should always be like a year and a half or so of data inside of Airtable.
Very cool. So man, Airtable sounds amazing and it's so super important for your business. Like, I don't even like, do you have a second tool? Like, is it just Airtable?
Yeah, I mean, I have another one which, yeah, is not as sparkly as Airtable, I guess, but it's my banking software, which is Mercury Bank, and Mercury is the fintech that basically sits on top of one of these local banks like Evolve, or I forget what some of the other ones are. So the cool thing about Mercury is you can just open a new checking account just like that. Okay, I need a new checking account. Boom, open. Here it is. And that's really important for my business because each property has their own escrow checking account. So we have to open a new checking account for each property. So to do that at like a Chase or a Bank of America, it's just not possible. It just would take forever. So we have a lot of clearing accounts and payment accounts and things like that. So having the ability to just quickly create those new accounts has been like a complete game changer. And they also do, we get some kind of interest on the stuff that sits in the accounts. So I think it's like 4%, 4.5% or something.
Super
So
high for bank
yeah,
account.
yep. So that's really good. And it's free wire transfers, which is awesome.
Free wire
Oh,
transfers. Wow.
yep. So we can just like get stuff in and out very, very quickly. So
Man, so I'm learning new things here. And I mean, I have a Mercury Bank account with one of the projects that we are actually involved in. We
yes,
have a
yep.
Mercury Bank account, and I never knew it even did all those things. So,
Yeah,
and I
it's
actually,
pretty cool.
yeah, I need to set up a new account, and I'm gonna definitely be looking at Mercury. So this is
Yep.
amazing. Yeah, this is yeah.
And they do, they do credit cards as well. So like we have a credit line with them, and it's all in the same place. So like you log in and like you can see your credit card stuff. And if I need to create a card for an employee, I can just do it there very quickly. It's just a virtual card. So it just makes things super, super seamless and like easy to manage. Like we do a lot of HOA payments to communities in the Poconos. So like we have a card just for that. So I know any charge on that card is for an HOA payment, and it just makes it easier to track all those things.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I know as having my own business, like the more you can segment the expenses and make them associated with something, the more insights that you actually have about what you're paying for certain things. And if you don't do that, then it's a real pain in the butt at the end of the month to figure out how to associate all of the expenses with all of the things. But if they were all just part of the same account. So yeah, it sounds like a super great tool. Two great tools to share. I appreciate it very much. And yeah, we'll be sharing that with the community, and I got value out of it. So Scott, we'll close this up, but thanks for coming. Yeah, it's great to have you. Super valuable information. Scott, you're an inspiration to me as a friend and as an entrepreneur. that I've been able to witness grow. So I always appreciate that. So thanks for coming on, and we'll see you later.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. This was great. Take care.